Hello, people. Good evening. Right now the Real Shop Talk is on hiatus until July 11th. So what we're doing is we're playing reruns of what our best or one of our most favorite shows was. And one of my most favorite shows, and especially if you watch the season finale record, that mine was The Silent Abuse of Boys. I think it was a very timely episode, as well as it kind of touched some nerves with all of us. And it was pretty interesting to see that like men had like experiences and how we express those feelings in those things, in those spaces. And that it's something that needs to be talked about. So coming up is the episode on the silent abuse of boys, and I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, tell a friend to tell a friend, bring your +5, and we'll see you on the back end. Have a great day.
Bellow on the bellow on the bellow. bellow, on the bellow, on the bellow.
Yeah, the real shop talk. Just come and take a listen. Some grown men with unbiased and honest opinions, and with no agendas, so you just gotta check it. Talking love and life from a male perspective. We keep it authentic, real, no filter. Leave a comment, be part of the show. We here to give you 5 gentlemen's views about manhood, no doubt. This the show you've been needing, yeah, it's the real shop talk. Let's go.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are back. It is Monday, 8 p.m. as we are every week. It is the Real Shop Talk. And normally we have 5 gentlemen. Tony Massey, we have to send our prayers and well wishes to Tony Massey. He'll be back in action as soon as he can. He's feeling a little under the weather, but he's still rocking with us. So he's always here with us, even when he's not here with us, right? So this show tonight is going to be a deep show. We have our deep shows, we have our fun shows, and everything in between. This is going to be a deep one, but it's going to be an informative one because we don't normally talk about these things, and we definitely don't see men talking about it a lot either. So we're going to make sure that we get to sure that you invite your friends, your family, your loved ones, all the men in your life to this show, even if it's not now on the replay. Go to the link. Let me put it up on the screen here. For realshoptalk.net. It's scrolling at the bottom. And when you go there, go to the YouTube link. Make sure that you click subscribe and click the bell to make sure that you get notifications. And we don't want to forget the folks in the comments. Tashura is here. Love Tucker's here. Alicia Dove, Realtor, is here. Lalita is here. Guys, make sure you bring your questions, your comments, invite your friends, tag, share, do whatever you got to do. Send a carrier pigeon, do what you got to do. This is going to be an amazing show. And every week you want them to keep coming back. We love you guys, and we're glad that you guys are here to chime in. This show is really just about 5 gentlemen, no agendas. We just want to share the information. We want to help you gain information. We want to help you heal. And we also want to build a community around this. We want to make sure that we touch each other, make sure that you get to see, as we do every week, as you guys in the comments know, you're going to see other people that have similar experiences. And once you connect with each other like that, then we can start to help each other. So I'm going to pass the mic over. Well, I guess we can do this first. We can just do like a real gentle intro, and then Tony Watts is going to take over as the MC for the night. First and foremost, my name is Derek Jones, and I'm the host of the Relationship Gumbo podcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, and I'm gonna just leave it there. We're gonna get right into this. So I'm gonna pass the mic. Since I'm at the bottom, I'm gonna pass the mic to John Singletary, and we're gonna go all the way around.
Hey, John Singletary, my circuit on 100% adrenaline, man. So he might be a little excitable tonight. So if he reached down through the screen and start choking me like a Homer choked Bart Simpson, is because he ain't had no sleep, and I've been on him all day just messing with him. But now I'm excited about it, man. Let's go and shoot it up to the Gunner Man.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? I am Gunner Man from Soapbox Stand and Speak. I am the host of the Gunner Man Show every Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Of course, I am a relationship life coach. I am teaching people the importance of loving themselves as well as living their truth. So I'm excited about this opportunity to share bits and pieces of myself regarding this subject today. So here we go. T. Watts, it's you.
Yeah. We're in the house, in the building, like my new big brother said, not in age, but in maturity. He told me, I've been up 24 hours, going on 36, I guess. It's been a rough one. So right now, you see this towel because I'm kind of wringing out my hands because my hands are sweating because this topic is heavy, and I have some actual experiences with this. So how I want to approach this topic is from the word maltreatment, right? Because when we deal with abuse, we kind of thinking about it as something maybe physical, we thinking it's something maybe sexual, but the abuse that we need to really kind of get ourselves wrapped around, there's a broad scope of it. Some of it's verbal, some of it's nonverbal, some of it's emotional, some of it's non-emotional, but it all kind of fits into this one caveat of things. And what seems to happen is a lot of men go through certain traumas and abuses that we don't talk about. And we don't talk about it because we're told as young lads, you fell down, don't cry. You get that beating, don't cry. So when your innocence is snatched away, you don't know how to deal with that emotional shift. It's a shift of your innocence. I've experienced this 3 times in my life. The one major time was from somebody I really, really trusted. And if you believe, if you understand something that's surreal, right? A lot of people say when the towers fell, they felt a surreal sense, like there was a real movie going on. It was like, how do you cope with this? Like my reality was shifted. There was a real sense of shifting in my reality. Like I did not understand what was really going on. Like how could this possibly happen for somebody that I trusted so much? You know what I mean? That you put so much trust and care in. So I want to approach it from that angle, and I'm going to give you a couple of science bullet points because we have to approach this from a scientific standpoint at some point. So children around United States, 7.9 million or so people are abused. 91% of that children are maltreated, and that was 2019. 46% of that was women. 59% of 44.9% of that was men, and most of that is not reported. So they say the average is about 1 in 6 men experience some type of verbal, emotional, or sexual or violent trauma before the age of 18, right? So if you look at how this is sparsed out when it comes to dealing with boys, there's a statistic I gave you above. Those statistics were taken in 2019, right? So I didn't go into the breakdown of it. So remember, I said the number was 91.4%, right? In 2008, the number was 80%. And of that 80%, 38% was done by women who did not have a partner. Not a sexual abuse, but some type of abuse, verbal, you're no good, abandonment, treating him less than a man, emasculating a boy, those type of things that happen when you grow up under some women. Some of these things happen, and I've had this discussion with single mothers before that some of you guys are the biggest emasculators of men by the way you treat them. That's also a form of abuse. You know what I mean? And we have to, it's really unnerving when you see the number is so high in families that are not jointed together, like the mother and father, they're not talking for whatever reason. The children suffer from that circumstance. So here are, before I go back to some other things, some things we're going to cover. These abuses have a physical effect, a psychological effect, a behavioral effect that turns into a societal effect. So we're going to deal with first, we're going to go through the 4 bullet points. We're not going to keep you guys here all night. The physical effects, right? The physical effects, we're thinking, oh, okay, so what could a physical effect be? Physical effects is actually how your body reacts to stress and trauma. Heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure. And this is something I want you guys to really pay attention to. A lot of black men have asthma. Asthma, pulmonary diseases are from abuse. We don't think about that. On top of that, it is also connected to different stresses of being in poverty. So, if, say you have somebody who's being abused, right, and then you have somebody that's living a poverty situation, and also they're going out into an environment that's hostile and violent. How are they supposed to survive and connect to their emotional standpoint when, like we said at the beginning, we've already told them to cut all that off? You've got to be a man. This is how men act. So somebody treated me for less than a man. I can't go tell somebody else that I was molested, because now I am no longer a man, because somebody took something from me. Nobody takes things from a man. So how do I express that? So we have to understand this thing goes really, really deep. So I just want to, want my team to jump in here from the physical aspect, and just give their ideas of how that would relate or how that would look.
Dun dun dun! Ain't nobody trying to release that mic tonight. Oh, I'm just going to keep it real. I don't have a personal story about the physical part of it, or probably most of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. But I will say this: we do live in a country. I'll say country because I don't know how people do overseas and stuff. I'm sure it's a lot of similar things, but even if we don't experience it, we know it happens. Even if it's not even in your purview, you see it on the news, and we see, even these things, right? Where these places where even if it doesn't happen in your home, the places where we send our kids to, Boy Scouts, and these different places where we now get in all of these accounts of all of these things happening. And to the point of the show, the silent abuse of boys, the reason why it's so powerful, and we want to focus on boys, we know that, and I want to just put the disclaimer: we know things happen to women too, but we should be able to parse this out and take account for both sides of this, so that we can try to heal, because a man isn't going to be able to heal himself by your traumas. He has to deal with his own. So I would say the reason why this is important is because, just like any other abuse or any other trauma, it carries throughout the rest of your life if it goes unchecked. But with men, I believe it goes unchecked a lot more, because, to Tony Watt's point, we're told and we're conditioned not to talk about it, even more than women, because we have to hold that mantle of being a real man. And that's why I think a lot of times you'll see, with a lot of other stressors too in life, but a lot of that stuff stems from things. You'll see the suicide rates among men, among Black men, skyrocket, and we try to put markers on why, and a lot of times we don't know why, because they haven't told us that it came from, just like a lot of stuff we talk about on this show comes from childhood and the physical. So we're focusing on physical. That right there, that's the one that's it's unfathomable to me, for any kid, male or female, to even think that a parent would even do that. But there's all kind of reasons why, and sicknesses, and I'm not a doctor or whatever, people dealing with their own stuff, and then it trickles downhill. But I know I'm going in circles, but there's a lot of different angles we can take this. But I guess before I land my little plane, because it could get a lot. We're gonna talk about this tonight, but it hurts to think that this happens, but it hurts even more that when we see the signs, when we see the stuff that don't seem right, like let's say something happened to my nephew and I see it and I still don't say anything because I don't want to talk against the family or whatever. And then that kid ends up growing up being somebody's boyfriend or somebody else's dad unchecked. And the repercussions are astronomical. And we have to really realize that when we see, I hate to say it's cliche, but see something, say something. Like we talk about community all the time. This is part of it. So I'm gonna land my plane there.
I guess for myself, it just starts off with the reminder of we don't have a community. We didn't grow up having a community where we as men had an outlet or a group to turn to when you feel or you've gone through a particular thing, when you feel a particular way or you're going through a particular thing. Like, what do you do with all that energy? Because we know it's energy, and it's negative energy, because it's not something that's building you into this being that you expect to do greater things. No, it's tearing you down in elements to now you're actually having the physical effects of it. You know, the number of diabetes and high blood pressure. And if we're speaking of Black men, since the time of slavery, from the food that we eat, that we pass on from generation to generation, not realizing that you just say, well, if my parents have it, I'm going to have it too. No, if you change your eating habits, you don't have to go through the same deterioration of the body as your parents, but you just continue to repeat the same, your preferences, your taste buds. This is how I like food. I like my food with seasonings. I like my food spicy. And you keep going down that same path, manifesting the same exact things, but dealing with the voices inside your head, never being able to say stuff out loud to someone that loves you more than anything, your mom, someone you actually came through her body to be brought into this place in space, and you go through something and you can't turn to her and say, hey, mom, look at this. Hey, mom. Like, how empty of a being. The people, the first person to love you, you don't feel because of what you grew up hearing from uncles to friends to other kids, you know, because we understand that it might be a little different times that we live in from when I grew up to the kids today, because the kids, when I grew up, you grew up around what happens inside your home and then your neighborhood. Your neighborhood shapes you because go outside and play, right? Go outside and play, go outside and play, go outside and play. And when the street lights come on, what do? You better come in when the street lights come on. But now kids nowadays, they're raised with social media. So now they have insight, effects, abuses, traumas, opinions from people all over the country. They're being raised by people from all over the country and outside the country, whatever is popular right now. And they still grew up with a society where they can't release. It's not manly to release. You're getting bullied in school. You can't say anything. Like, it's madness. In this day and time, you're getting bullied and you can't just turn to the teacher and say, if I'm already getting bullied, why can't I just tell the teacher and get that kid in trouble? Matter of fact, I'm going to tell my parents and my parents are going to bring it up with their parents. Like, but you never think to do that. You're just thinking, let me hide. Let me go the other way in school so I don't run into that person. All that stuff you keep bottled up inside you, living every single day in fear. Like, I could tell you, when I moved to Mount Vernon, New York, from the Bronx, I was bullied from 5th grade into 6th grade. I was bullied almost every single day, bullied, crying in class after class, feeling a particular way until I kept playing sports. And then one thing turned. The kid, when you remember, we used to do, I don't know if you remember, if you guys did it, chess boxing. Remember chess boxing back in the day? That's the test of manhood. Slap boxing or chess boxing. Well, the kid who bullied me throughout 5th grade wanted to chess box me in 6th grade. Little did he know, little boy Ricky has been playing baseball and football, wrestling in the park with the neighborhood boys that consist of 21 boys in my hood. In my neighborhood, we were close. So now 6th grade come around and you want to bully and chess. So I'm still timid because it's the same guy who bullied me in 5th grade. And I have no one to share with. I can't tell my parents. You just got to live with that. You just got to live. Go to school every day in fear. 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. Imagine the type of fear you got to go to. Well, that boy tested me in 6th grade, and boy, did he feel the heat, because that took one punch and it changed everything. Everything. And even the victory I couldn't share with anyone because no one knew about my fear.
Right.
You know, when a good thing happens to you, you have nothing to, and no one to share it with. Is it actually a good thing? So these are the things that we live with. Now, when you talk about suicide rate is highest across America in Black men age 17. What have we gone through as kids, teenagers, till 11th grade in high school? What have we gone through where we feel I'd rather die than continue in this? No one to tell. I had no one. Absolutely bullied for 2 years, and I couldn't tell anyone because I will be seen as less than a man. And only 5th grade. Why am I even thinking about being a man? I think I'll stop there for now.
Nah, you hit a good point there too, because we talk about the abuse, and there are just folks out there that are monsters that are gonna abuse. There are people that have gone through trauma, so they abuse because of the abuse that has been levied upon them. But the silent part is where we really, as a society, have we taught young boys and young men to be silent about these things? Because, I think about the Western philosophy of stoicism, to be stoic and to be philosophical, but to deny the fact that we have an emotional center and that we feel things and we feel them deeply. And so this idea to socialize men and boys, that this is what real manhood looks like. These are the script of things that you can talk about, and to deny a part of your humanity to be a part of this exclusive club. And how many times, because abuse will happen, but the tragedy is doubled, in my opinion, when the victim has to be silent. This is obviously something that we see with the effects of power and patriarchy with women. They're silenced during these times. And this phenomenon is happening through socialization with boys. They're being silenced because, you're not supposed to cry. Don't whine about that. Or, Erica was talking about, the sexual taking advantage of young boys. And what does toxic masculinity say? Oh, yeah, you had a grown woman warn you. That's what you should want. No, we're not emotionally, we're not physically, we're not spiritually ready for those types of situations. And the abuse is happening. And it's like we're socializing our men and our boys to be silent about these things. And so then we're broken, and we end up being broken men, and we end up perpetuating brokenness in our homes and in our communities. So the troubling part for me is the silence, like to give a voice to men and boys, to everyone, but to men and boys specifically. They go to DJ with that loud music. He about to get, no, let me not say
He about to get abused. Trauma on set.
Let me go through a few of these comments real quick, guys.
Cool.
Do the one about Gun to Man.
Oh, that's at the Kalisha says, Gunter, do you think that you carry that trauma into adulthood, and how do you process it as an adult?
Well, before I got to adulthood, I became the bully. I'm going to get you first. Every person in my neighborhood knew nobody messes with Ricky. I became the bully. Even older kids knew not to mess with me because I played sports so much and I made that such a huge part of my life. I was stronger than most. And I carried that as I got to, say, college, because I remember I started going on tour from 11th grade. That freed me up of a lot of stuff. The gift of travel, what it has done for my life it has empowered me. It has given me freedoms because I was living a lifestyle outside of Mount Vernon, New York, experiencing things and lives and highs where the things that kept me down as a child, it was easier for me to let go because it was victory on top of victory on top of victory. But now at the core, was the trauma still there? I don't know, because deciding to be a dancer, let us take that venture. It's a freedom that's a little different than most careers. You know, you're freer with your body, you're freer with your mindset. It's an expression of who you are. And since I had that opportunity to express, my mouth flew open. It became freer to say the things that I was going through, the things I was dealing with. It became my dance was life-giving to me. So as an adult, especially until I got to college, then learning knowledge of self, being someone of color and knowing where, the African enslavers, 2021. I'm believing that 2024. Yeah, 2024. Yes. That I'm believing that it's all them traumas, because it was easy to let go because I was living my truth. I went to school for engineering. I didn't have to pursue that because I became so successful in dance. So, people say, you never work a day in your life if you do that which you love. So in my life, I felt like I'd never worked a day in my life. Who can say that growing up amongst my friends? And then to be successful at a very young age, not that it really makes a difference, but it made a difference that at a young age, I was making so much money that I didn't have those same burdens as my other friends, where they had to think about if they wanted this or wanted that to get this or get that. Oh, I can't go there and can't go there. I had none of those, because if I wanted it, I just get it. I was already six figures in my early 20s, six figures. So I was just running and spending and going and doing and living the life that felt like it had no limitations. But does that still affect you emotionally when you try to connect? Yeah. My mom being sick, me being dropped off, all that stuff left marks. So in relationships, I still had that same mindset. Are you going to stay with me? So you become that giver. And remember, we talked about giving. Either you give from a place of that you don't expect anything in return, or you give in the sense of a bribe, or you give begging them to stay, or begging them to be something different, begging them to hope that they'll be more like yourself. So all that stuff left marks, but you have to work through it. You have to learn the importance of loving yourself and operating from truth to let that stuff go. And then this community of guys and people where I just talk so much that I was able to freely share about all the things that I went through. It's through the talking about the embarrassing stuff that frees you up. The secret things in life are the things that kill you.
So yes, I'm gonna get a couple of comments, not all.
All right, cool.
Some of the ones that kind of stuck out to me were the one about bedwetting. I forgot who did it. Bedwetting was a sign of abuse.
Lolita.
She also says that they get older, cutting themselves. We hear about that a lot.
Absolutely.
Dope discussions with Erica says, I was enraged by the Mary Kay, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, case where she had a sexual relationship with her 12-year-old male student. So it's a lot of stuff out here. I do want to make a point at the end of this, and then I'll let give it back to Tony Watts. Tashura says it's bad when you're bullied at school and at home. Lalita says fear of being seen as it's your fault or being told you will get in trouble because it's your fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Erica, I'll read two more. Erica says in society teaches boys that they are supposed to want sex so they don't feel they can actually tell someone that it's uncomfortable when someone touches them.
That's right.
That's very true. That's why the thing that I read earlier about the 12-year-old, that 12-year-old would probably see that as something that's supposed to happen, because that's how, and then Fiel said, this is the last one. Fiel said, I don't want to sound cliche, but silence is the most hard effect. Both the victim and the abuser refuse to talk about what they went through and what they did not truly understand. And then they did not truly understand the why. So the other thing I want, since we're talking about physical, right? what I was thinking about was, especially in the Black community, how we discipline our kids. And the boys, because they're boys, they're supposed to take it more, right? And that, like, I got little spankings, but some of them stories I heard, extension cords and all hangers, and I'm like, and the thing about it is, when you really think about it logically, the only way that I can correct your behavior is to make you fear me. And the only way I can make you fear me is by causing you bodily harm. A 5-year-old. Think about that. Like, we grew up in it. But if you step back and think about that, I want you to fear me and I have to hurt you in order for me. And you know, a lot of us will grow up and say, well, I got it and I'm turned out okay. Everybody don't always turn out okay.
Right. Right.
Everybody don't always turn out okay. And it's a cycle. Like, it really hit me hard real quick when, and I know we're talking about boys, but when I had my kid, and it was the way that she looked at me. And I was like, she's not looking at the behavior being corrected. She's looking at me attacking her personally.
Right.
In that moment, I couldn't do it anymore. So we got to think about these things. You got to think about these elementary, and I know with some kids out here that's off the hook, but the only way is for you to hurt them. I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo, but I'm playing there.
You're not a weirdo at all. So I'm glad you went to that point before I continue down this rabbit hole. There's a difference between disciplining your child and you taking your anger out on your child. There's a difference, right? And a lot of times people are taking their anger out on their child. They're taking all the stuff that went on at work. They're taking on the relationship woes they're going through. They're taking on the abuse they went through. So the child is receiving something that all the child did was spill the milk. That's all. Or the child didn't miss one thing in the room that he didn't clean up correctly. And we go and because you didn't listen to me, because outside of my particular home or environment, I am not as strong as I need to be, or I'm dealing with emotional baggage that I've never let go. I take it on a child because the child is subjected to me. I can do whatever I want. So that type of beating on a child stems from a lot of us not having the coping skills to know the difference. My child needs to be disciplined because they're out of line. And me beating up on my child because I'm really hurting myself. There's a big difference between those two things. And I think people should really search themselves when they go to those extremes to discipline a child. We
quick to talk about, oh, well, I came out all right. Listen, I got beat.
Me too, bro.
Like, man, my mom would be beating me and get tired, and my grandma would give her a pep talk like she was in the corner with a cut man, and then she come back and beat me some more. Like, you know, I'm like, dang, like, for real, I thought you loved me playing, you know. And but the worst part about it is this conversation like, oh, you turned out okay and blah, blah, blah. No, man, people really are out here having to deal with all kind of childhood trauma and heal from stuff and recover and try to get over it for us to keep running out this tired trope of, oh, well, you turned out all right. Well, maybe I turned out all right because I had to dig deep and do an exceptional amount of work that maybe if my caretakers would have done their job right, I wouldn't have had to go through all of that. So we got to kill that idea that, well, you know, back when Big Mama did it, okay, well, that was Big Mama's time. We could do different stuff now, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of different things we can do. So real quick, 60% of the abusers know the child. Either it's a neighbor, babysitter, family member. 30% is the child's relative, father, uncle, cousin, mother, you know, aunt. 14% of boys get abused by women. and women also abuse 6% of girls. So from a sexual standpoint, it's something that happens across the board. What I want to dive into now is the next level of this thing. Bullet point number 4 is the psychological consequences, and I want people to really pay attention to this because this is important. There's a diminished functioning cognitive skills capability when you are abused, right? So women go around and going, you can't communicate with me. There could be a deeper reason why they can't communicate with you. Poor mental and emotional health, attachment and societal difficulties, postpartum stress. So for me, when I went through my thing was to take it out on everybody else in the world. It was either collect as many girls as I can get or beat everybody up. I was in karate school for about 5 or 6 years, and my parents were to the point where you will not fight in school. You are not going to fight in school. You better not fight.
Yo, that karate school, man. I got put in that joint too, man. It helped though. Yeah,
it helped calm me down. But the problem was, here I am being bullied by people that I know I could take, right? So like Rick, I was in the 5th grade. I came to school one day with one of those nice little suits on, and the bully came to me in art class, and he he took himself a little too far, and I was like, yo, and my best friend was like, yeah, we're not doing this no more, dude. After school, you're gonna show him what you can do, because I know what you can do. So we go to this Ebony Gardens before it was built. Ebony Gardens over there. There was a whole bunch of mountains and dunes where they had big dig up the dirt. So we went over there to get it in. I knocked homie out twice, and then from that point on, I just became a terror. Every day I went to school to beat up another bully, and I no longer cared because before that point, I got chased home every day from school. So I'm thinking at this point, not looking back at it, I'm thinking at this point, I am now becoming a man. I'm a man now, but I haven't dealt with, you've been touched. Your babysitter before you got to the 5th grade touched you in crazy ways. You know what I mean? When you went out and sat with when your mother would send you out to Long Island, you know what I mean? Some older teenagers touched you. You know what I mean? Like, so there was things that I was rebelling against that I couldn't talk about. But when I became to get physical and make my place in the world physically, like Rick said, play sports, name in the paper every other week for football, walk through the hallway, oh, that's Tony Watts, da 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 da. Any town I went through, oh, that's Tony Watts, because I thought that my bravado was the way to get in. But now that I look back at it, when I started doing this search to figure out what's going on, when I sat with a psychiatrist, and real quick before we move into the next, before I let the gentleman go around about this topic, I have a problem with claustrophobia. And I came to a therapist and said, no, you're not claustrophobic. You have a problem being enclosed in any environment. No matter if you're on a boat, no matter if you're in an elevator, no matter anywhere that you feel that you can't get away, that's a trauma trigger for you. And she asked me, have you been sexually abused? And the first time she asked me, I was like, no, because in my heart, if I admitted that meant I was less than the bravado that I expressed. So when I came back to the next session I committed to, I was like, yeah, I did. And she said, what that trauma, and she explained what I was going through at the moment it happened. That surrealism. What my body was, what your brain does is, to most children anyway, it does it to all human beings from a physical sense. So from a physical sense, if you get into a car accident and it cuts off your arm, your body will shut you completely down so you don't have to deal with the trauma, or your adrenaline would be so high that you can't feel the pain. So in an emotional sense, your body does the same thing. It hides you from the emotional trauma. It's there. It locks it away somewhere. And every time it comes up or comes around, you might not know exactly what it's touching, but it's scratching at the door. It continues scratching at the door. So then like, why am I acting this way? Why am I doing that? Because it's been put away so lovely in your mind that your mind is just trying to protect you from it. So again, let's go back to talking about diminished capacity to communicate. Let's go around the horn about that one. Derek, we'll go.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much. You know me. I'll keep running.
And don't forget, Tony, we got that video clip too.
Oh, right. We can play that next. That makes sense.
I'm gonna be real brief on this one. All of that, like just to kind of recap a little bit, but it all stems from that point of origin, that trauma. Like we always talk about trauma and how you kind of get stunted at that point. And I always like to say, it's that little boy that's still in there, wanting to fight, wanting to punch whoever it was, and that person ain't in front of you. So, the one thing that a lot of men, that like you talk about men not being emotional, the one thing we do know is anger, and that can manifest itself in a lot of different ways, and all of it stems back from that little kid that wants to protect itself. It's still in there. You be 40, that little kid's still in there. If it doesn't go checked, if it doesn't get resolved, and it doesn't get, you don't get the help and to try to heal or to try to learn how to manage it, that little kid is still there. And we have to remember that when we're out here in this world dealing with people and dealing with our relationships and our kids, that we resolve our own little kid before we start taking it out on another one. So I'm gonna land there. Let me leave it there.
I'm gonna land there. Now, Erica just put how trauma rewires your brain, and I be getting mad at Derek because he got that compassionate, understanding voice. Like he be talking and you be wanting to get emotional. Like he really hears me. Can't stand you for that, but now it does rewire your brain. So I had an opportunity this morning to talk with Tony Watts and our girl Jen Hurt on the show, and she asked me just a really simple question. There was no link to trauma of any sort, but the question was, what was the genesis of me starting my podcast? And my preference is actually to write. So, I would write things, and I kind of didn't prefer to do anything live, being on camera or my voice being heard, because through trauma, I had an idea that my voice wasn't worth hearing, man, shout out to Tony and Tony Massey for being vulnerable. I was sexually abused as a child also by a family member. And I remember at first they used to try to bribe me with candy, and I would take the candy to an extent because damn it, it's candy, so you're going to take it. But I'm like, I'm not agreeing to what you're saying, but I want the candy. But then when it got to the point where I'm so uncomfortable with this, I don't want any part of it. Her and 4 or 5 of her friends, they would lock me in a room. They would come in and beat me up. And you think how sloppy they were. When you're beating somebody, you're not supposed to hit them in places that are obvious, but they busted my lip and stuff and beating me up. And I was small. Like they're 10 and 11 years older than me. I'm 5, 6 years old. They're 16, 17 years old. And I'm going at them best I can, but I can't beat them. And, I looked at how that manifests as a man, things that I can't find the words to say. And I've got a good command of the English language, literarily and, conversationally, but there's emotional places where through therapy, I realized that there are words that sometimes I can't access because of the trauma. And, you think, I would say I've overcome a lot, but there's a part of me as a father that's like, that a lot of that stuff is a non-starter for me in raising my child. And it's a non-starter for me for young people that are in my life. And I'm thinking, to consider what I've gone through and what I've been able to accomplish in spite of it. But that shouldn't be the litmus test or the baseline at all. And I just think about how as a society, we're really handcuffing our potential to really rebuild the community because we just throw out these tired tropes like, well, you overcome that and you got to have this struggle. Abuse should be a non-starter. A non-starter. And the impacts are multifaceted. There's just so many ways. Like, I'm only uncovering the surface to the ways in which it's impacted me in relationships with friends, with women, with, my family and everything. So like that thing just gets deep. I didn't even mean to talk that long, but let me go and go to Gunner, man.
Yo, thank you for sharing, bro.
Yeah, for sure, John. That's real. Now imagine coupling that with, as John says, the society part of it, where little boys are told from a child to go outside and play. Just go outside and play. Girls are told stay home and make house, raise your baby doll, here play in the kitchen. But boys are just told to go outside and play. Go outside and play means what? Beat your opponent, right? Be better than the next one. I'm not having a conversation. I'm dominating you physically, right? So boys hitting on boys, boys fighting boys, playing sports, same type of mindset, competition. So no real talking is going on. Then we get into relationships. So trauma plus cultural norms to go outside and be tough. Go play. If someone beats you up, I got that uncle in Harlem. Same traumas in Harlem happening. Had a fight with a kid in Harlem, went inside my godfather's house and said, these guys picked on me. He brought me right back outside to that kid. He said, fight him. Brought me right back outside to a group of kids. Fight him. You will not run from no one. I beat his, because I was scared before, but my uncle was like 6'7". He was huge. So I went out there and I beat him because I had backing. So these mindsets that you learn from a kid, go outside. Where does communication, where do words come into play in any of this? How at any point when you start to couple with women who are told to play house and to build a family and to nurture a kid, where do men go to find the words now after trying to be the best of the best, or to realize that you're not that good at something, which makes you, but knocks you down a peg even? Imagine a community where you don't get picked first. All that stuff leaves marks. You don't think it leaves marks, but it leaves marks. And now you want to talk to women about what? I didn't, no part of my life brought up had anything to do with learning how to speak what I feel outside to people. I like her. So remember that whole passing the notes that we talked about? If you like me, check yes or no, and you slide that note, because you didn't know how to even say that. And I was talking with Tashira, remember that thing you said that you do when you flip it, you had to flip it open and fold it open? That's what I'm talking about. That's how men had to communicate. That's what I'm talking about. Origami things is how we used to talk. And find out if someone liked it, because we didn't have the words. They're laughing, but it's the truth. How do you speak to women? Because if you speak to women like you speak to men, where we hang out as boys, I'll use an example. Tony and I will hang out. Remember 1,000 friends. We would have amazing times. But if someone would have asked me, what did you and Tony Watts talked about? Not much. We were just around each other. It was dope. It was crazy high. You know what I'm saying? But we had no words. With women now, they want to know details. How's your day? You can't just say, it was nice. No, they want details. They want details. You gotta, what? I had to pay attention to all that? I gotta try now expressing all that? Wait, how? How can I express? I have no outlet as a kid to express what I've gone through in trauma and culturally to do with outside. How in the world do we ever speak to women? How? And then how culture affects the women. A man that speaks too much is known as what? Weak, soft, and possibly even gay. What the hell does that have to do with anything? So culture, even women don't expect you to talk much. But yet, when they're with their girlfriends complaining, he never tells me how they feel. Well, you called the ones that were willing to tell you how he feels punks, wimps, gay. So what's the story with that?
Well,
Oh, can I say? I want to land my plane.
I'm sorry. Put the yellow cones up. Bring them in. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things real quick before we move on to the next topic. It's going to be behavioral consequences. We'll go back to psychological consequences again. So what we all just covered was the poor mental, all right, poor emotional health, attachment and societal difficulties, attachment and social difficulties. So we just talked about how socially it is awkward for us to communicate, for us to express what we went through. You know, how is John as a child being overpowered by these women who's and here's the problem, who should have been his protectors. They should have been his protectors. They was put there to be his protectors. The woman who did it to me, she was supposed to be my babysitter. My mother and father entrusted her to take care of me when they were at work. She taught me something at a young age that I should have no means of knowing, right? So you couple those things in, and now to go back to what Rick said about how do we find the words? What do we talk about? What do we say? We go out, we play amongst ourselves, and here's gentlemen, we are told your mother ain't this, you this. Oh, you can't do that. You a faggot. You know, you this, you that, you the other thing. Now couple that with the abuse that I don't know as a child that this person is going through. It could be verbal, it could be physical, it could be sexual, but I'm also putting him down when he comes out the house. And he can't turn to me and say, hey, Tone, man, that really hurts my feelings because I'm going through blah, 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 blah. How would I even answer that question, right? So finding the words, and Rick just said something else very important for this generation right now. Who's going to pick me? Women are out here, and I'm not blaming the women on this panel or all women in general, but women are out here destroying men because they don't meet a standard that they think the men should make. So you're not getting picked amongst your friends. You're not getting picked over here. And then people that you want to talk to and you can't talk to, they're not picking you either. Because if you express yourself, you're all these other things that you shouldn't be. But you can run to your girlfriend and express all yourself the way you need to express yourself. That's why one of my favorite songs by Prince is "If I Was Your Girlfriend." Would you run to me if somebody hurts you, even if that
somebody was me?
Yo. Yes, man. Let's go, fam. You know what I mean? So if we can understand, this is why I'm so big on the village, right? If we can understand what we're doing to our children, what we're doing to these children outside, how we're turning to them and blaming them for their bad behavior without figuring it out first. We're labeling them things that we don't even understand what they have gone through on the other end. We have to stop that. We've all been through trauma, hurts, and pains and circumstances. And we have to have that grace and compassion for them as well to give them space to express themselves. Because science has come recently to say that we don't mature as adults between 21 and 25. Our brain doesn't fully develop. So here you are making negative neural pathways in my mind because you have sexually assaulted me, because you have verbally abused me, because you've told me to shut up and I can't talk. So the wiring that I need to communicate is not going to develop until later on. Go ahead, Rick.
Can I also add the angle of typically when you have separation between husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, and the kid is raised by the mother, no one really talks about the trauma that the kids go through. And I'm saying kids, not just boys, but kids go through where mom keeps picking wrong after that, where mom never lives her truth, where mom doesn't truly love herself. And that is being festered and fed and bled into your children because you have never found happiness, because you settled for something less than what was best for your life. You're manifesting these things, energy, mindsets, habit patterns, that the kids have another way of not standing a chance in the outside world. You're talking about when you decide to move on, fight for your kids is fighting for a relationship that will actually work, that will look like something that you imagine in your head as a kid growing up. Does this feel good, or do I have no way out because I'm in the bind? Because kids feel the effects of you not feeling love, of you not finding peace, for you not being in a place where you can actually make decisions based on what's right for you. Your kids suffer all the consequences of those decisions. I figure I had to bring that part up.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad you did, because it's something else that I bring up a lot as well, is we don't understand the damage we do to our kids for us just not communicating with each other. We think that they don't see, that they don't know, that because we're not yelling and screaming at each other in front of them, that they're not. They know the difference. They see it. They understand. And we have to stop limiting their capabilities. Their capabilities is far beyond what we could. Listen, most people here now that is going to listen to this program can turn around and say, if my parents would have let me do blah, 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 skies would have been the limit. We put limit on our kids. And then we put roadblocks on when we act like Rick said, when we put our relationship on our children, or we disconnect emotionally from our children because of our relationship. How is a young man supposed to understand how he's supposed to treat his wife or his girlfriend if he's never seen his dad do it? If he's never seen his grandfather do it? If he doesn't see anybody in the hood do it? If he doesn't see anybody in movies do it? And the people in movies that do it is called romance movies for women. Where's he supposed to find his place? Where? So I'm gonna move on to behavioral consequences.
Hey Tony.
Yes, sir.
You want to slip that video in, or you want to?
Yeah, because that goes right into this. Yes.
So I want to do this real quick because I don't want to miss. This is how I want to do it. Let me know if you agree.
No, I
we're gonna do Erica's question.
Okay.
Erica's question, the video, and then come back to the last part of your bullet points.
Let's go.
So Erica's question was, if I had to scroll to it, she said, why do you guys believe that family sweep sexual abuse under the rug, especially when the victim is a boy?
I'll take that.
Okay.
What we have to do, and I want to say this with as much humility as possible, we have to forgive the people in the past, because the trauma of slavery, the trauma of Jim Crow, the trauma of somebody being able to come and take you away from somewhere easily, I believe, it's a personal opinion, it's not something I have statistics for, has made us be quiet about a lot of things. It made us be quiet about who's touching who, who's marrying who, because if I tell, then Mr. Charlie's going to come get him, because Mr. Charlie is waiting for us to do some type of crime. Mr. Charlie has to figure out a way to continue to take the black man away from the family. I know there are a lot of things that happen in the South that doesn't come up. Sometimes the abuser came up missing. We don't talk about that. Sometimes the abuser was sent away. We don't talk about that. So it wasn't always we were being silent. They were trying to protect us from certain situations. I guess they didn't understand the impact of this, what this abuse could do. So I don't know who I was talking to earlier. I think I was talking to you, Derek. When we was talking about how sometimes we something will happen and we'll protect our children from it. But it's a way of not to hurt them, but to keep them guarded from certain situations in life. And that's why I think a lot of children nowadays are so oblivious to what's going on around them, because we've put such a shield around them for what's going on. And like I'm saying, what I'm saying is not 100%, the reason or the cause, but I believe it's a part of the cause, that we were trying to protect our family unit, so therefore we were being quiet about what was going on. I do believe there's some deeper things there, but that's what I think the foundation started.
It's about weakness, appearing weak. As a family unit, you can't appear weak.
Right, true. Let me just jump in real quick, Rick. And
Yeah,
Rick say that, absolutely. Because also, if you look at it this way. If an uncle or an aunt or a cousin or a sister had a mental disease, we would hide that. Oh, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing going on with them. We wouldn't embrace it. So all of these things, if you look at the whole umbrella, if anything that was out of the norm, we'd hide it. We'd find a way to hide it. So I think that sexual trauma also got knitted into that fabric. So it became a part of, again, the family protecting us by saying, "Oh, who's in the back room? Uncle Charles. Don't go back there."
Well, like the mindset with the enslaved Africans. I don't like using the word slavery. Enslaved Africans are what we were. Our ancestors were. Remember, they take the strongest, meanest looking one,
mm-hmm.
and they would beat them, tar them, feather them, connect them to the horses, and slap the horse till he tear them apart. And they are supposed to be the dominant ones. They're the most dominant looking ones. So imagine just a regular everyday enslaved African had to protect your home. No signs of looking weak. No signs of looking weak. Because look what could happen to us. If that happened to him, look what it could happen to us.
And they would also sexually abuse the strongest man of the tribe.
Yes. And that's why like homosexuality is so detested in Jamaica.
Right.
I'm going to jump in real quick. Oh, go ahead. Oh, it's real quick, John. Too small. Well, I'm going to read Erica's comment. And then I'm gonna make a small point, and then I'm done. Erica says the psychological damage happens to the victim after the fact, when the child has to see their abuser every day like nothing happened.
Yep.
The second point I wanted to make too is we know in the Black community, at least for a very, very long time, and it's still prevalent, but the Black community has been extremely homophobic. So when we're talking about boys, you definitely don't want anybody to know that the abuse was done by a man. And that is even more egregious, in these circles than anything else. It's like, oh crap, it's a man that did that to a boy. How do we even just shut up? Don't talk about it. Because that looks even worse than even a girl getting sexually abused. It's like a man did it to a little boy. Oh no. And that's something that we know for a fact that's hidden, not just in households, but in organizations, in these
Boy Scouts,
dare I say the Catholic Church and the Boy Scouts and all these other men that how many decades has that been hidden? So it's a lot. Like I said, this show is deep, but I'm landing my plane. Mr. Singletary can come off the mic.
Man, all that stuff just making me sick to my stomach. Like the points that Gunnerman and Tony Watts made, and you, Derek, like y'all just so eloquently encapsulated it all. I just think from personal experience, though, or not though, in addition, just to give it a perspective. I grew up and I lived through that, and when I got older, I tried to figure out a way to express it. So I wrote a song about it. And And I shared that with some family members, and they chose her. And man, it's just like I still can't wrap my head around that. Like if somebody did something to my son, like it's a whole problem, like get the bail money now because it's gonna be a problem. Like don't even try to stop me. Just you gonna have to deal with the fallout because I'm gonna get at him. And just let's go to the video, man.
Let's do that. We appreciate you, brother. So this video, I'm gonna try my best to segue to this video. This is a video that was on the breakfast. This is a clip from the Breakfast Club. It's 3 minutes long, so we're gonna play it out. But it gives some context to a lot of things we were talking about tonight. So here it goes.
Follow my story. I talk about suicide. Like I'm a 2-time suicide, a survivor attempts, and so when I started going to therapy after my second attempt, and the therapy started to really address the issue behind the depression, because I feel like depression is a symptom to a greater root issue. And the root issue was really stemming from abandonment. And the depression was brought on trying to be accepted. Mm-hmm. Because for most black boys in sports, coaches are fathers. Mm. So when football was over, I'm looking for another father. Mm. I'm looking for some more validation. And this is why it's hard for guys to transition out of sports, because they identify themselves through what they do. And what I had to learn was it was what I did, but it wasn't who I was. But that takes a deeper level of healing and really addressing fatherhood issues and daddyhood issues, and understanding that the validation that most men, all of us, let's just be real. I don't care what level of success. It's just something about having a dad there, because I feel like a mother determines what a child remembers, but a dad determines what a child believes.
That's right.
So when dad put his stamp on it,
man,
it's like you can do it and be whatever you want. But even when you look at men who have become successful, the constant need for validation is that I have all of this, but I still haven't been approved by dad. Mm.
How did you get the validation that you were seeking from your father? How did you, I guess, fix that wound in yourself?
I didn't.
Man.
I didn't get it.
Do we ever?
Man.
Well, answer the first question first. You didn't get it, did it?
I didn't get it because I felt like my father has never had the conversation with me that I wanted him to have. And I said this to one of the young guys I mentor, and I said, man, I've had to accept that I would love to have it, but I can't wait for it. And that's when I said to myself, I have to keep healing. And I think the validation for me now is being able to look at other brothers and speaking to the king in them and being able to build them. That brings a great validation. And I would say the word that I would use, it brings great fulfillment. Because now at this point, I think that as you continue to grow and evolve as a man, not only does your perspective shifts, but your view on life shifts. And so my view is now is who are you building rather than what you're building? Because it's great to build things, and I think men should always work to build things, but who are you building? And I think to be able to hand the baton to another young man and to talk to him about emotional intelligence and to be able to encourage him, like, listen, man, I want you to get to a place where you can respond versus react. Everybody has anger, but I want you to manage that. I think even when we look at these artists, I think, we give these young kids a bunch of money because they got a hit and their song is popping, but I think these kids need mental health coaches. They need more than just a tour manager, because here's what is happening. They're processing through their pen.
Right.
They're processing through their pen.
And he says at the end of that, they're processing through their pen, but their pen is broken.
Little louder, Tony.
They're processing through their pen, but their pen is broken. That's how he ends that segment. So we're gonna go to um, behavioral consequences. We go into unhealthy sexual practices, alcoholism, sexual abuse, juvenile delinquency, adult criminalization, uh, and what Rick talked about earlier, and I talked about earlier, future preparation for get back. So it might not be get back at the person who abused me, but it might be get back at somebody else weaker than me, because I have to dispense that trauma that I haven't gotten away from yet. I have to put it somewhere. The person who yelled at me all the time. Now I got to go to this weaker vessel and become a bully, because I have to do it on them. And some people turn to sexual predators themselves. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of behavioral consequences behind these things. And what I'm trying to get out to the audience to understand is that sometimes we are blaming each other for things that either side hasn't healed from yet. And the reason why I thought this particular conversation was very, very important, I listened to how we structure or how we imagine men to be when they haven't lived up to who we want them to be. I am not blaming women for who men are. I'm not blaming single women for doing that, because this is a partnership. So it takes a village to raise a child. You can't do it by yourself. It takes a village. So if you go into the raising of this child with pain and anguish and hatred for his father, for the people in the neighborhood that you've been trying to talk to, and every man that hasn't healed from his emotional trauma, and he's treating you like garbage because he hasn't gone through what he needs to go through to get to the place where you wanted to be accepted, because neither one of you can sit next to each other and tell the truth. I'm hurt. I've been through a lot, because we all just want to be the fake versions of who we are. We don't want to step into our power and say, that's the past. I'd like to sit down and really have a relationship with you. I'd like to unpack some of these things that I've dealt with. And I'd like to share that with you. And if it's too much for you, just let me know, because I'm going to get a therapist. But we are blaming, and we are putting the burden of our sorrows across the line. It's a woman's problem. Women did it to me. Men did it to me. And we keep growing further and further apart. And it's killing me. It's pissing me off. Every day I hear it, I get madder and madder, because it makes no sense. We are suffering from the same systematic oppression and different systematic things that have happened. I'm not blaming the system when I use this expression. Please, I'm going to make that clear. I'm not blaming it. The system is not the sole source of our problem. The sole source of our problem is we have become to a point that we cannot unify and come together and stand on each other's shoulders to build our communities. We'd rather blame the man who is going through these emotional things, who didn't do all the things you think he should do by this particular age, so he doesn't deserve this and he doesn't deserve that. Who are you? And who am I to say a woman deserves to be in the kitchen, and she deserves to be submissive to me, and who am I to say what she deserves to be? I didn't create her. God created her. God created me, and he created us to work this garden together. And the reason why I felt we had to have this discussion, because society as a whole talks about everybody else's trauma and pain, but they don't talk about the black man's pain. And I say this all the time. I love my black women. I love women, period. And I know you guys have struggled for a long time, but there's nothing like being in this skin. Nothing. People clutch their pocketbooks when you come around. Bosses expect you to talk at all times with a tempered voice. If you raise your voice, he's an angry black man. I know you'll get the angry black woman thing as well. But when you have all of the world hating you, and then the source where you came from that brought you into the world hates you too, where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do? That's abuse. And you guys don't even realize it because you're holding your own pain. I couldn't love John more right now. John is a major person in the military. Major. He's not a subordinate. He's a major person in the military. He got his stripes. And we just seen this man hold on.
Yeah, I got you, Tone. Yeah. You know, it's
from his past that has affected him all his life. Do you understand what that is? That no matter how hard you try, there's still that thing that people still won't accept you for, and you haven't gotten over it yet? So the next time you know, find that cute guy, 6'5", 6 whatever, you know, 6-figure dude that treats you like garbage, kind of figure out maybe, you know, he hasn't found himself out. He hasn't figured out who he is yet either. Too busy chasing, you know, the material goods to dig down inside of who he is. Figure that out. I'm gonna leave it right there, man. Y'all take over from here. We'll close it out in a second.
Man, I appreciate you so much, man. Why you got to be 6'5" though?
That's what they asked for.
How y'all think I feel? I'm the shortest guy in the panel.
Listen, I can barely stand myself now. If I was 6'5", none of y'all could deal. No, let me stop. Oh man. Yeah. So with all of this, and I even saw one of the comments that we had to have a part 2. We're gonna have to let it breathe a little while before we.
Yeah.
But and all of that. One of the things that King Jay Barnett was getting at, man, and I follow that brother. He's powerful. You got to choose healing. So he said, you know, like there's a part ain't gonna fix that. And you know, doing some shadow work. So I was watching a show on Hulu, and you know, it's following this white dude that's a rapper, and you know, he got to a point with his family, like they took such good care of him. He didn't know his dad's favorite color. He didn't know nothing about it because they just took such care of him. And I was in the process of doing shadow work, and what I realized was I've never been taken care of like that, if I've ever been taken care of at all. So yeah, that part was hard. There was the emotions to it. But then as I processed, it was like, you know what? That day is over for me. Like I'm grown. I am a caretaker myself. Nobody is trying to take care of me the way my parents or the people that were responsible for me as a child should have. And they shouldn't have to, because I'm an adult now. And so there's a part where I have to let that go. That's a part I can't recover, but I still have to choose healing. And if we can't say anything else tonight, man, we've got to choose healing. There's so much that we've been through. I can't go back and redeem that time and make that better. And it's not fair for me to put that responsibility on my brothers that come into my life with their various hurts, or, you know, woman that comes into my life. It's not her job to be my mama or take, you know, over the roles that I lost as a child. It's my job to heal so that I can come into these relationships as a positive contributor and not somebody that perpetuates the cycle of harm. So we've got to choose healing. Some stuff we can't go back and fix it, but we can go forward and continue to choose growth and healing.
Right.
I have no words. For the first time ever, I have no words. I'm gonna just say this because at this point, we need to play if you know that music they play at the Oscars. I'm gonna say this. I'll say these are my closing remarks. I guess the biggest point I want to make here, and we're focused on boys who become men. And it's the even larger point as to what we're even trying to accomplish on this show. And the points that I consume a ridiculous amount of content online about relationships, about mental health, and all these other types of things, because I want to always be knowledgeable about a lot of different categories. And the one thing that I always hear on some of these shows, whether they're professional or not, is what are we modeling for our kids?
What are we modeling? Yes,
what are we modeling for our kids so that they can then grow into functioning adults? And when you look at, let's say, Gen X, and we know stuff, people have gone through stuff for centuries, but when you look at the millennials and we look at the Gen Z and you look at the model that a lot of these kids haven't been shown. And I always talk about how even if you can't see or hear the trauma, you can definitely see the behavior. And you see these, and I'm just going to say it, these Black men in droves not taking care of their kids. You see all of these different dysfunctional things, right? We can talk about the women, but it's not about them tonight. And then you say, what was the model that they followed? It's not giving them an excuse, but there has to be a point for a child to have something to grab onto. And if you then, as a teenager or as a grade school kid, experience some type of trauma like we discussed earlier, to add on top of not having the model, how do you expect these people to be functional in even any kind of relationship other than to pretend to be okay? But deep down, it's always there. And so, you know, what I do as a relationship coach, and even what Rick does and Tony as coaches, when we see all of these people that are in these disastrous situations, and you're like, and you talk to them, there wasn't a model. The origin story, there wasn't a model. It's in that model doesn't necessarily mean you have a broken home. Sometimes that model looks ugly when you have two parents in the house. And so we have to, even at this age that we're at now, we got to put our arms around our brothers and be the model. Sometimes we modeling for each other and we the same age. Okay. I learned something from each and every one of these brothers every week. So we have to be responsible for more than just ourselves. Even though I know we live in a selfish society, that's why this whole community thing means way more than us just helping each other and looking like we have to be the model. Us gentlemen on this stage right now, we have to be the model for the men that will look at this show, for the men that we see in the street while we at the amusement park with our matching t-shirts. So we got to show the unity. So I'm gonna land my plane there. I'm not even going. I mean, I just go to the Real Shop Talk and find my stuff. I can't even finish the show. Thanks, John.
You say what you were born into is not your fault.
Not your fault.
You had no choice with how someone raised you. You had no say in that. But it's the understanding that you still now get to choose. I sit with so many clients during the week that talk about the effects of childhood. You know, dad not being around, or dad being around and still absent, probably even hurts more. You know, growing up and making the decision to be a dancer, my dad never, ever came to see me perform. And I wasn't just a good dancer. I was one of the top dancers in New York City. And my father never came to see me dance. You know how powerful that is? When you live your passion and the people that you care about most won't come to see you live your dream? What type of marks do you think that leaves on you? Go chase your dreams. But if it's opposite of what I think you should be doing,
I can't mess with you.
I can't come and support you. I will not be showing up for you. Think about that. Being a man of color is just a very different thing to live. You know, I travel, and you think that it stops in America. It doesn't.
The whole world.
And I'm telling you, I could tell you from trips from Thailand all the way to back to Hawaii. I'll span that whole spectrum of time zones. You are not seen like everyone else. And you can't, I'm bubbly. I'm wearing glasses. I'm a nerdy, bubbly, laughy, joking person. I can never fathom someone feeling fear, but the color of my skin stones a face. The color of my skin clutches a purse. The color of my skin makes someone cross the street. The color of my skin sees me as something that they have no clue what's my truth by the color of my skin. But I tell fathers this: you can't give your kids enough things to take the place of your absence. You could get them all the latest things, the latest gadgets, the coolest clothes, prep them up, the latest. Your presence not being there to see them, to see a kid do what they love and they don't have their father standing there watching. Daddy, look at me. Daddy, look at me. Daddy, look at me. And he's not there because he's mad at the mother. You not showing up. I did that to my daughter. Left marks on her. How are you not showing up? How are you not showing up 30 years later, still affected by things you did when she was little? The greatest gift you can give your child is your presence. Your presence. Forget the latest things. That will never take the place of you not being there for them to live what they enjoy and you not being there to watch or to know their interest. That is powerful. Fathers, step up. Keep rising. Push past your traumas. No one. It's not your fault what you went through as a kid. Not your fault. It's not your fault.
Not your fault.
But now it's your decisions.
It's your responsibility.
It is your decisions. They say you're born looking like your daddy, but you will die looking like your decisions.
That's right.
That's it. Guys, I want to just take this time out to thank you guys. I know this has even been heavy for the people commenting, but where do you find 4 guys willing to tell everything live? You can't delete this. This is forever out. And we don't care.
Don't care.
We are saving communities. We are bringing people together. We're saving lives with this information. You are not alone. So don't live it alone. Turn to people, life coaches, therapists. Tell someone. If you don't have someone at home you can tell us.
Reach out.
We will listen. Reach out.
Reach out. Got you. Yes, sir.
Bless you guys.
So I'm going to try to do a Derek and land the plane after I go through something real quick. The last bullet point was societal circumstances. And the best way I can put that is the quote that was in Black Panther, Or the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel the warmth. So when you run into young men and men who have not healed, and they seem that they're emotionally unattached, and they're not listening to your needs, and I'm not asking you to give them a pass. I'm asking you to be understanding and have grace that they might have went through some things that they haven't understood they can get healing from. I'm not asking you to get into a relationship with them. But what I'm asking you to do is to, when you have certain behavior, bring it up. Say, listen, we can't date because you act XYZ, but have you looked into seeing a therapist? Is there something in your past that maybe you need to think about? Because we're quick to write people off. Even when women act a certain way, we're quick to, she's crazy, just to go left field for a second. You get involved with a woman and you do all of these sexual acrobatic things to her, and she keys your car because you don't want to call her back and all that. You want to call her crazy. She's not crazy. That's what you did to her. You did that. So somewhere along the line, somebody has done the same thing to a guy that hasn't found his center yet, who hasn't understood how to express himself. He hasn't figured it out. So I'm not asking you to date him, but I'm asking you to tell him. Listen, man, you go to the Real Shop Talk. Go to listen to them. They're talking some real sense. Maybe they got something for you. Maybe you're looking for something that you don't understand what you're looking for. Maybe they can help you out. Point them in a direction that can help them. I feel it's my job, the young men that I mentor, is to tell them the truth. You don't have to do certain things. You don't have to act certain ways. You don't have to be the things that you see in the street. You don't have to be that. And Rick hit on something important when we talked about being gay and all that other stuff. There are studies that show all types of abuse can lead to somebody choosing a different alternate lifestyle. There's studies that prove that. So we're out here traumatizing our kids in so many different ways. Give them space to express themselves. Give your children space to love on themselves. You love on them too, but be disciplined. Don't, let it be a continuous thing that's kind of out of control. Be loving. A child should have the space to, hey, that doesn't feel right. You hurt my feelings. A child should be able to do that. And please encourage young men that are in your circle to speak up. They can do it respectfully. Please do that. So we're going to close out tonight. John, did you give your closing comments? Because I see you down there. somebody clowning with you. I see the clowning's going on. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of you dudes, man. I can't see any comments because I got this paper over top of them so I can concentrate. Again, love you guys. See us next week. And Derek, bounce us out of here, man.
Yeah, man. you don't want to see the comments right now. Just guys, make sure you go to the Real Shop, www.realshoptalk.net. All of our profiles are there. Just find out what we normally go through and tell you how to find us and all. Just go to the website. Click the links, look at go to the YouTube page, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to grow the YouTube. I know some of you guys are on here through Facebook, but we need to route you to the YouTube page so we can grow those numbers. Click that subscribe button and make sure you click the bell so it'll pop up when we go live so you don't forget. And I think that's it. This show, again, that somebody said there needs to be a part 2, and I think Tashura said, part 2 next year. So emotional show, but impactful show. Make sure that you share this with the men in your life. Some of them won't get it, but some of them will. So we're not here to catch everybody. We're here to catch the people that want to try to do better, be better, and understand how this stuff works within us, man. This is we even Tony Massey, all 5 of us, we bringing you those things that come so deep from within that you don't normally hear, because the men in your lives that are not talking, they're doing the same thing that we know for a fact that we've all been trained to do. we're just at a point now where we want to make sure that cycle doesn't repeat itself. If we can put our little stamp on it, then our job is done. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you everybody in the comments. Please continue to come back and comment. Bring a friend. We got you reserved for a +5 next time. So bring your +5 next time, and bring a friend next time. And make sure you bring your comments and your questions. And we love the comments. And we're gonna get out of here. Hope you guys have
subscribe.
Absolutely. Subscribe to that YouTube page so we can grow the numbers. If you like the content, not just subscribe, but actually like the video. Hit that little thumb. Yes. So we can get those numbers and the algorithms in our favor. So on that note, we're out of here. We will see you guys next week, same time, same place. And make sure that you stay safe out there. Take care of yourself. And that's it. We out of here. Y'all have a great night.